The central government has finally approved the 5,100 crore rupees project to locally manufacture over 5 lakh AK-203 rifles with full transfer of technology. The project will be implemented by a special purpose joint venture called Indo-Russian Rifles Private Limited, and the 7.62 by 39 mm caliber AK-203 rifles will replace the in-service INSARS rifle that was inducted over 3 decades back. The project will create jobs and help the Indian medium and small enterprises with order for raw material supplies. With this clearance today, the deal is now all set to be signed on 6 December during the annual India-Russia bilateral summit. Apart from meeting the domestic requirements, the Indo-Russian Rifles Private Limited will also take up exports of the AK-203 to other countries. The Indian Air Force is keen to fast-track the request for proposal for the 114 MRFA competition by early 2022, and according to sources, the Indian Air Force fears that the Tejas Mark II program might be used by the Indian government to sabotage or downgrade the MRFA requirements. Recent media reports that the Air Force might jump from the 4.5 generation Tejas Mark 1A directly to the 5th generation AMCA Mark I fighter jet. And this is turning out to be true, as the top brass of the Air Force seems to be more interested in securing orders for 90 Rafale fighter jets over the Tejas Mark II. The Aeronautical Development Agency has asked for a joint meeting between the Air Force and Ministry of Defence officials on this matter, and the Defence Ministry seems to be backing the Tejas Mark II program, and has told to continue the work on the rollout of the first Tejas Mark II aircraft by end of 2022. At a time when India's Tejas light combat aircraft is seen as the top contender in the Malaysian light combat aircraft tender, the Turkish aerospace industries has offered its Hurjet light attack aircraft, which has not even conducted its first flight. Turkish aerospace industries has also opened an office in Malaysia's Putrajaya city on 24th of November 2021 to increase its footprint in the country. HAL is also working to open a host of logistic spaces in the neighboring countries with the intent of supporting the deployment of Tejas aircraft, and so far there have been no similar pledges from other competing companies. The Aeronautical Development Agency has started experimenting and testing a new radome that will eventually replace the quartz radome nose cone supplied by the British firm Cobham for the upcoming 83 Tejas Mark 1A fighters. The length of the new radome is 1970 mm against Cobham supplied quartz radome nose cone that was 1972 mm, but the diameter at the fuselage interface is 892 mm against 883.5 mm seen in the present nose cone supplied by Cobham. The Aeronautical Development Agency has already developed a pre-production radome nose cone for the AMCA program for testing purposes, and it seems that the same technology has been adapted for the Tejas Mark 1A and Tejas Mark II program. According to senior government officials, India won't go ahead with the $1 billion deal with Russia for the local production of 200 Ka-226 helicopters, and instead there might be a limited off-the-shelf purchases. The talks with Russia on using more locally manufactured parts were inconclusive, and now India's Indigenous light utility helicopter is also ready for limited series production. The Biden administration has told Indian officials during diplomatic dialogues that it is willing to grant a presidential waiver to India only for the S-400 deal as a one-time exception, which also means that the remaining big-ticket deals with Russia for fighter jets and purchase or lease of submarines will not be easy. India and South Korea held the third strategic dialogue, where the two sides discussed in-depth critical and high technologies, supply chain resistance, and ways to further enhance the special strategic partnership, and both sides agreed on joint development and joint production in the defense sector, and this is significant, as India is seeking to export the K-9 self-propelled howitzer to third countries in cooperation with South Korea.